that they were his employer or that a joint employment relationship existed. However, plaintiff makes strong arguments that document upon which the Candy Digital defendants rely is not cognizable on a motion to dismiss. There is allegations of theft and sexual harassment. He's viewing very seriously Justin's claim of extortion. That's what it signals to me. And this, or I will expose this, or I'll go to the New York Times, or I'll go and do this. I'm going to tell everyone about what you did. I'm not going to promote the film. I'm not going to talk to Taylor Swift.
A significant legal blow has just been delivered by Justin Baldoni to them. Due to the fact that the judge is unwilling to dismiss the case, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have forced a high-stakes extortion case into full swing. However, the truth is going to be revealed, and it has the potential to destroy careers.
That very well could be litigated.
Within an important development is that Baldoni recently achieved a significant victory in court, as the judge rejected the motion that Lively and Reynolds had submitted. Despite order to dismiss the complaint, this judgment prepares the path for full litigation, which indicates that the lawsuit has significant legal implications. As the case moves forward, its consequences for Hollywood power dynamics, reputational damage, and legal implications are becoming more significant. Precedent continue to unfold.
Before it had become a global sensation, it already helped thousands of women leave situations like Lily was in. I knew that if we could find a way to adapt it, which we knew wasn't going to be easy, then we had the potential to impact millions of lives.
Tracing the beginnings of this legal controversy. Return to conflicts surrounding Wayfair Studios, a production firm co-founded by Justin Baldoni, according to Baldens. Blake Lively submitted a lawsuit in which he made serious allegations against him and the company, threatening to publicly accuse him of everything. If her demands were not met, she would be subjected to sexual harassment and assault. Included in her demands was the expectation of receiving a Producers Guild of America PGA credit and other production advantages for her work in a certain project.
Things like she demanded that she get a cut of the film, she demanded that she get editing right, she just demanded that she use her cut of the film be released. She threatened that if they didn't release her cut according to them, that she wouldn't.
For her part, Lively has adamantly denied these accusations. She argues that her actions were conducted in response to real concerns about inappropriate behavior and that she never attempted to use false allegations as leverage for personal gain. Her legal team maintains that she merely volunteered her services to the production and was granted the PGA credit as a reflection of her legitimate contributions, hoping to shut down the lawsuit before it could progress. Lively's legal team filed a motion to dismiss. A motion to dismiss is a legal maneuver that asks the court to throw out a case before it reaches the discovery or trial phase, typically arguing that the claims lack legal merit or fail to meet the necessary burden of proof to overcome when you're trying to get out of defamation. While motions to dismiss are common in defamation and extortion cases, they are notoriously difficult to win. Courts are generally hesitant to dismiss cases outright, especially when serious allegations are involved. Instead, they desire to let both sides to give evidence and arguments before making a final conclusion. Lively's move to dismiss contended that Baldwin's claims were baseless and that his lawsuit was merely an attempt to retaliate against her for speaking out. Her legal team also suggested that her communications and actions were protected under California law, which offers strong free speech protections in matters of public concern
to overcome when you're trying to get out of defamation.
However, the judge ultimately ruled against Lively, denying her motion to dismiss. This decision was a major legal victory for Baldoni, as it meant that the court saw enough merit in his claims to allow the case to proceed. Had the judge granted the motion to dismiss, the lawsuit would have been thrown out, entirely effectively ending Baldwin's legal pursuit. Instead, the ruling ensured that the case would move forward, allowing for further investigation, discovery, and potentially even a trial. For Baldoni, this ruling was not just a technical legal win, it was a significant validation of his claims. By rejecting Lively's attempt to dismiss the case, the judge indicated that the allegations against her were serious enough to warrant a full legal examination. This sent a strong message that the court was willing to take the case seriously rather than dismiss it as a baseless or frivolous lawsuit.
Said defendants move from order staying discovery pending a decision on their respective motions to dismiss. The motion to stay discovery are denied.
The legal battle was far from over, but this decision marked a turning point. It meant that Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios would have the opportunity to present their full case in court, a process that could reveal damaging evidence, internal communications, and witness testimony. At the same time, Lively and her legal team were now forced to mount a stronger defense, knowing that the case was not going to be dismissed easily. With the judges ruling, the lawsuit entered a new phase, one that would bring even more attention to the allegations, the legal arguments, and the potential consequences for everyone involved.
Does not in of itself give rise to justification to warrant a stay.
Following Blake Lively's attempt to have the case dismissed, the legal battle took another significant turn when the judge not only denied the motion to dismiss, but also refused to grant a motion to stay discovery. This decision sent a clear message: the case had enough legal merit to move forward, and both sides would be required to provide evidence and participate in the legal process.
Showing of good cause, a court may grant a motion to stay discovery pending a decision on a motion to dismiss.
A motion to stay discovery is a legal request to pause the process of evidence collection while a motion to dismiss is being considered. In many defamation and civil cases, defendants request a stay on discovery to avoid the cost, time, and potential exposure of sensitive information that could emerge during the process. If granted, it essentially puts the case on hold, delaying depositions, document submissions, and any formal exchange of evidence. Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and their legal team requested that discovery should be suspended, perhaps hoping that if the motion to dismiss was eventually permitted, they may avoid the burden of judicial proceedings completely. However, the judge's rejection to grant this stay signaled that he was hesitant to suspend the judicial procedure based on their arguments alone.
He was looking at, okay, yes, they had a strong case here, and then the plaintiffs responded, and then he says, in response, the Fanatics defendants argue that he has sufficiently alleged an employment relationship and that any defects of his pleading can be cured by amendment. With a strong argument on both sides, defendants' arguments do not supply the requisite substantial grounds for dismissal or under the alternative formation articulated by Judge Gorenstein, and a strong showing that the party moving for the stay is likely to succeed on the merits. So basically that they wouldn't dismiss the case, nor would they stay the discovery. It says, nor have the defendants shown that the breadth of discovery sought justifies a stay of discovery. So as far as like the arguments, he said, yes, you have a good argument for a motion to dismiss, but the plaintiff had an amazing response. And so just because you have a strong argument doesn't mean I'm going to dismiss this claim. And then he also said that just because they've asked for discovery, the amount they've asked for isn't that broad. It's a very narrow window of time, much like what they're seeking in this case, where the window is from August of 2024 till December of 2024, because that's when she says the smear campaign, the alleged one, started. So ultimately, he denied it. He had to hold on to the fact that a motion to dismiss does not stay discovery unless it's in the Private Securities Litigations Reform Act. So he's following the rules of this district, okay? So the discovery kept going, and then in December, he made a ruling on a motion for dismiss by one of the parties, a summary judgment from another party, and a motion to dismiss from another party. So in this case, it's a little bit complicated. It was like he's suing his employer for retaliation for taking FMLA, and there were two separate entities, one his direct employer and then this other company that sort of worked in collaboration with the company, but he was not an employee to and was not directly involved with. And so that company that didn't pay him, that he wasn't a employee to, and that really had no claim over him in terms of employment. Basically, his primary employer consulted with this other company about what they would do and if this is grounds for termination, and they got advice from that company, and then they made a decision to terminate him. And basically what the judge said is like, okay, we're going to dismiss the case against that company that they consulted, but we're denying the motion to dismiss against the company itself, and we're denying their summary judgment as well. But he also allowed them to file a amended complaint to overcome the issue of trying to tie the defendant, that's the one that was consulted, to his employer. So knowing that in the case that he just cited, and the stay of discovery was cited for that case where he ultimately denied the motion to dismiss and then also allowed a leave to file an amended complaint, kind of signals to me that this judge is very serious about this case, and that even though they want it to get thrown out in the beginning, that this is a judge that is very unlikely to throw things out that have very serious claims in them, and he is going to try to get these cases litigated instead of thrown out on a technicality. And I've noticed this in a lot of his filings, that he is taking a very fair position here, that there are credible claims on both sides. Whether you believe the claims are credible on both sides is for you, the audience, to decide. But he is not taking this position that it's like Blake is the victim and Wayfair is the enemy, or that Wayfair is the victim and Blake is the enemy, right? Right now he's saying both sides have created like fraud.
Throughout his finding, the judge used a similar case, Robbins Ver Candy Digital, to support his decision. This case was noteworthy because it dealt with comparable legal concerns about discovery and the necessity of shifting ahead in litigation despite attempts to dismiss. By using this precedent, the court endorsed the concept that both sides had given convincing reasons and that it was wrong to halt the discovery process. At this level, the judge's ruling also indicated a larger legal theory that cases of this kind should be extensively studied rather than dismissed quickly. This was especially crucial because it suggested that the court considered Baldoni and Wayfair Studios' arguments deserved thorough investigation.
This district, okay? So the discovery kept going, and then in December, he made a ruling on a motion for dismiss by one of the parties.
This decision wasn't an unique ruling. The judge had earlier granted a move to dismiss in a related case, but still permitting an updated complaint. This demonstrated that he was not looking for speedy dismissals, but was instead committed to allowing litigation to proceed in an organized manner.
A very fair position here, that there are credible claims on both sides. Whether you believe the claims are credible on both sides is for you, the audience, to decide. But he is not taking this position that it's like Blake is the victim.
For Baldwin and his legal team, this verdict was another important win. The denial of the petition to stop discovery meant that they would soon acquire access to important documents, conversations, and testimonials that might potentially help their case. If damning evidence against Lively and Reynolds surfaced during discovery, it might considerably affect public perception and the eventual outcome of the trial.
Into this concept of malice, because he said she did this with actual malice.
On the other hand, this verdict was a significant blow to Lively and Reynolds. Without a dismissal, they now faced the reality of having to go through full legal proceedings, including turning over evidence and even sitting for depositions under oath. This was a worst-case situation for them, as discovery potentially divulged details that they might have preferred to keep out of the public view. The judge's refusal to give the stay also signaled that he felt enough merit in Baldwin's argument to let the judicial process proceed organically. Had he believed the lawsuit was frivolous or unjustified, he could have been more inclined to delay or dismiss it altogether. Instead, he made it clear that all parties would be held accountable for their claims and conduct.
Or I will expose this, or I'll go to the New York Times, or I'll go and do this. I'm going to tell everyone about what you did. I'm not going to promote the film. I'm not going to talk to Taylor Swift.
With a request to dismiss denied. With discovery moving ahead, the litigation entered a critical phase. This order ensured that Baldoni and Wayfair Studios might acquire key evidence to support their allegations of extortion and defamation. Lively and Reynolds would be forced to participate in discovery, meaning their private emails and behind-scenes dealings could be scrutinized. The case would not be resolved soon, as the judicial procedure would now take its full course.
control due to the extortion of Blake. So they were alleging extortion.
At the crux of this court struggle lies a significant and highly controversial assertion, Justin. Baldoni and Wayfair Studios stated that Blake Lively engaged in extortion. According to Baldwin's lawsuit, Lively threatened to accuse him and his production firm of sexual harassment and violence unless they accepted her demands. These demands allegedly included acquiring a Producers Guild of America, PGA credit, and other production-related benefits. This charge is particularly explosive because it directly contradicts the #MeToo movement's basic ideas. Extortion in the context of sexual misconduct claims is an uncommon but significant claim, one that, if proven, might have significant ramifications for all parties concerned.
To hold a threat over our heads, and every time we try to hold a line, she uses the threat either directly or indirectly to get us to fold. Make no mistake, I'm not suggesting that we are literally forced to acquiesce, but given the high profile of the movie, the partnership with Sony, the amount of money invested.
Baldoni and Wayfair Studios stated that Lively exploited false claims of wrongdoing as a negotiation tactic to compel them into offering her higher productivity progress on a project. According to court filings, Baldwin's team contends that Lively's approach was not about justice or accountability, but rather about earning power, influence, and financial benefit in the sector.
To TMZ after she filed the motion to dismiss. So let me just tell you what he said.
The lawsuit alleges that Lively presented them with an ultimatum: either comply with her requests or she will publicly accuse them of significant wrongdoing. If true, this would constitute legal extortion under California law, which criminalizes the use of threats to coerce someone into granting financial or professional benefits.
Overshadowed by big-name actors or directors who sometimes negotiate.
For Baldoni and his production company, their accusations are about more than simply this one case. They are about safeguarding their reputations and standing up against what they view as a dangerous precedent. If Lively is found to have engaged in extortion, it would raise severe worries about the potential abuse of harassment allegations for personal gain.
We're preparing ahead of time. They were thinking ahead about this lawsuit. So Blake can't now say that they never thought about it before she sued.
Blake Lively and her legal team vehemently dispute these charges. They maintain that she did not extort Baldoni or Wayfair Studios, but instead raised legitimate worries about workplace wrongdoing. Lively maintains that any demands she made for production credits were not connected to false accusations, but rather reflected her actual contributions to the project. According to her interpretation of events, Lively was invited to volunteer her skills for the production, and in recognition of her work, she acquired the PGA credit. Her legal team claims that this was a common industry process, and that Baldwin's assertions are nothing more than a retaliation attack aimed to discredit her.
She wants people to forget that this letter was sent in June of 2024, and she wants them to just strike this timeline of relevant events because it proves the extortion.
Lively also says that she was a victim of harassment and inappropriate behavior within the industry. If this is true, then her decision to speak up and seek accountability would be an act of self-protection, not extortion. Her legal team has presented this case as a risky backlash against women who speak up about harassment in Hollywood. They claim that if Baldoni succeeds in branding Lively's conduct as extortion, it could prevent future victims from coming forward out of fear that they too could be sued for defamation or extortion.
Penal code of civil extortion, in my opinion, because their case is she threatened that unless we did this, she wouldn't do that, and this is what she wanted, and this is what we did, and we complied. So,
male penal code of civil extortion, in my opinion, since their cases, she threatened that unless we did this, she wouldn't do that, and this is what she wanted, and this is what we did, and we complied. So,
to be twisted and curated by privileged elites to fit their own personal agenda.
The stakes in this case go much beyond a simple lawsuit. The outcome of this legal dispute could have long ramifications for Hollywood and the bigger discourse surrounding workplace misconduct and power relations in the entertainment business. If Baldwin and Wayfair Studios successful in establishing that Lively utilized false claims as leverage, it might change everything on The other hand, if Liv's defense stands up and Baldon's allegations are dismissed or ruled against, it could reinforce the premise that claims should not simply be disregarded as extortion or bad faith, adding extra damage. Baldon's reputation for seeking to defame a high-profile actress to be twisted and curated by affluent elites to fit their own particular agenda. When discovery moves ahead, both parties will have to offer actual evidence to support their allegations: emails, communications, contracts, and testimonials from individuals engaged in the production will play a vital role in establishing whether Lively's actions were a justifiable response to wrongdoing or a premeditated extortion attempt. As predicted, Hollywood is profoundly split on the case. Legal experts have expressed fear that Baldon's lawsuit could set a precedent that inhibits people from reporting misbehavior. Others say that false charges should be regarded just as harshly as genuine malfeasance, and if extortion was truly at play, it must be addressed